How's it going, everybody? It's your man JT coming at you with another video, and I've been wanting to make this for a while but just haven't really had the time to do so. But I just wanted to kind of lay out my thoughts on the Miami Dolphins heading into this offseason, what they need to do, and what I think they need to address. Now, it is still a couple of months, basically about a month and a half really actually, before the free agency period starts, and it's about maybe I think a little over 90 days or 3 months before the NFL draft. So there's still some time really before the Miami Dolphins can do anything. And first, I just want to start though about what the Dolphins have done already, what they need to improve, obviously from last season, and of course, kind of go position by position and address how that can be accomplished. Now, obviously, the Miami Dolphins didn't get quite to where the fans had hoped coming off a year where they had finally made the playoffs for the first time in 8 years. They would follow that up with a 6-10 season. Now, there's several reasons for this. One is somewhat a lack of talent, but at the same time, I still kind of stand that it really was the same team that went to the playoffs, besides one key change, which of course was going from Tannehill to Cutler, which is a downgrade. But I think even more, than that downgrade, I think the fact that they lost their bye week and had to move around a lot early on in the year. They got relocated. They had a lot of traveling. You're talking about a team that had 5 primetime games, a London game. Their schedule was not favorable. Not just talking about the opponents they played, but obviously the travel and the toll that took on the team as well. So I think all those played into the Miami Dolphins 6-10 season. But obviously, those aren't excuses. The team still obviously had some flaws, but I don't think that they had quite the schedule that they had when they went 10-6. Where they were able to maybe cover up a flaw or two. I think this year the schedule was much more difficult, and therefore a lot of those weaknesses got exposed. Again, weaknesses such as the offensive line, yet again, linebacking core, as Kiko Alonso had a very poor year in many eyes. I think that's mostly basically because he was used wrong. He was used as a pass covering linebacker, and really that's his one true weakness. I think if the Dolphins could get him in more run stuffing plays, some blitzes, I think that'll use his strengths much better. I don't know what the future holds for Lawrence Timmons. The team could use another player in the secondary, could use another pass rusher, and also, of course, the quarterback position is going to be a big conversation, as it already has for the Miami Dolphins. So what have the Dolphins done already in this offseason? Well, they've made a lot of coaching changes. New offensive coordinator, new wide receiver coach, new running back coach, and new defensive line coach. A lot of these guys are well-respected guys from around the league. But we'll see what kind of impact these guys can make. But clearly the Dolphins, who were second in the league in penalties, and again, when you go back to Ajayi being traded, and he's calling out a lot of the players, he addressed, not getting the playbook, not being prepared, not studying. Perhaps I think Adam Gase is hoping these new coaches will get the players in line in that regard, get the players prepared for the games on Sunday or, of course, whenever they play. So we'll see if indeed these new coaches can make those changes. That's just, we're going to have to kind of sit and wait for those results. Now, as far as what the Miami Dolphins can do, again, I'm just going to go position by position and just kind of address my general thoughts on a quarterback. Look, the starting quarterback in 2018, week 1, should be Ryan Tannehill. That's just how it is. The team still has him under contract. He's still a very solid quarterback, and he's somebody who's going to give your team a chance to win. He's automatically an upgrade over anything you had this past season. And again, some people may want more from Ryan Tannehill, but at the same time, you're talking about a year where Blake Bortles, Case Keenum, and Nick Foles are playing in the NFC and AFC Championship game. You can get by with Ryan Tannehill. He's not going to prevent your team from being successful in any way. The real question will be is who is the backup? Right now, there is no other quarterback on the Miami Dolphins roster. Obviously, that will change. But will it be a Matt Moore, a David Fales coming back from this past season, or will the team look towards the draft? And of course, if they look to the draft, a lot of people will ask, well, what kind of round is this? Is this a first round need, a mid round need? Look, I think the Miami Dolphins should draft a quarterback. Whether they bring Matt Moore or not, he's been a backup for long enough. I think you need an actual, real option if something were to happen to Tannehill. I'm not going to say what round that is. If they find a guy at the 11th overall pick that they swear is, a future option, a quarterback, a great talent, best player available, fine. It's probably more of a mid-round need, and that's probably more realistically where the Dolphins would take a quarterback. But again, I think you're talking mostly who's the backup going to be. I don't think you're really talking about the starter. Same in running back. I think Kenyon Drake, after the great second half he had, will be the team starter going into next year. However, a lot of teams like to have a 1-2 punch. The Dolphins don't currently have that. So I think the team will still add a running back in free agency or the draft. One of those two options. Now, wide receiver, the conversation begins and ends with Jarvis Landry. Do you re-sign him? How much do you re-sign him for? Do you let him walk? If he walks, what do you replace him with? That's going to be a big conversation. Now, obviously, right now, early on, it doesn't really look good. Jarvis Landry has vocally expressed his frustration, and obviously so. I mean, this was a guy who didn't hold out. He didn't demand an extension. He played through his rookie contract. He was one of the team's best players for 4 years, and now he's not getting, that big-time offer. You can obviously understand why he would feel disrespected. But at the same time, can the Dolphins, is it smart for them to pay $14, $15 million for Jarvis Landry? Probably not. As much as I like the guy, they have to find a price range that both can agree on. Outside of that, maybe Devontae Parker is a guy that you cut the cord on and trade or release. You could also keep him for his contract year. He probably would be a guy that would perform really well in a contract year situation. And you also have some young wide receivers that I think need to get a chance. Jakeem Grant, Drew Morgan, Isaiah Ford. I would like to see these guys next year as well. Tight end, that's just a complete need. Julius Thomas will get cut. And so then, free agency or the draft, you'll have to find a tight end. Offensive lineman, probably going to need at least 2, if not 3 offensive linemen. Right tackle Juwan James is going to hit free agency. He was your best offensive lineman this year. Laramie Tunsil has become an okay left tackle, but not a great one. Mike Puncy is really bad at center. I wish they would cut him, but they're probably not because he's seen as kind of a locker room leader type of guy. So if not, you need a good backup center, and of course, pretty much both guard positions could still be addressed. The team does have Jesse Davis, who could play right guard or right tackle, in my opinion, undrafted rookie who did really well this year. That's about it, and again, I also said undrafted rookie. So, obviously, offensive line still needs to be addressed. Defensive line, I think the Dolphins did a really good job at defensive tackle last offseason, bringing in Devon Gotcha and Vincent Taylor. Gave the team a solid number 3, number 4, maybe even number 2 in Devon. But, of course, Jordan Phillips also stepped up his game. And, of course, you have Ndamukong Suh as your number 1. So I think you're pretty solid there. I think the team could use another pass rusher. Unfortunately, Andre Branch, did not quite live up to the contract you gave him last offseason. Maybe that can change. But I would consider the idea of adding another pass rusher. Charles Harris, I think, had a good rookie year. Underrated, really, in the eyes of a lot of Dolphin fans. But I think he is a future option. But, you need more. You can't keep relying on Cam Wake to give you double-digit sacks well into his late 30s. Linebacking, I kind of already addressed that. I think either Kiko or Lawrence Timmons, one of those two, aren't going to be back next year because they basically need to play the exact same role. Raekwon McMillan will come back, your second-round pick, who unfortunately tore an ACL to begin the season. So you'll get to see what he's like. But ultimately, the team, even with Raekwon coming back, will need at least one linebacker added, rather. Sorry. Whether that's the first round with a guy like Roquan Smith or Josh Allen or something like that, I don't know. But you could also find a guy in the second or third round that you think has tons of potential and could fill your need as well. But a young, athletic linebacker would really do good things. Quarterback's an interesting one because you do have Xavier Howard, who had a really good second half of the year. Tony Lippett comes back from injury. Bobby McCain played well, and Cordrea Tankersley had a good rookie year. But none of these guys feel elite. None of these guys feel like a number 1 cornerback. So do you just kind of, ignore the position and hope one of these young guys develops into that? Or do you go after a top-notch corner? Because as long as you're playing with number 2 and number 3 quarterbacks, you're going to struggle in the pass game as the Dolphins did. but it's not unreasonable to think one of these guys could become that for you. So I don't know where I really stand at cornerback at the moment. Safety is pretty solid as well, although the team could use maybe more of a coverage safety, maybe a Derwin James type, even though he's more of a physical one. I'm just trying to think of what's available in the draft. But, again, TJ McDonald, Rashad Jones, that's not a bad safety core. You're pretty good there. Special teams, I would like to see the team bring in some competition at punter. I don't think that Matt Hackey did a good enough job. Cody Parkey did, though. I was fine with that, so no need for a kicker. Long snapper, we don't have that. But I'm not going to bore you too much with special teams. Obviously I think most of the Dolphins' needs are pretty obvious. There's a few positions where, I don't know exactly where I would stand, but we will see what Mike Tannenbaum, Chris Greer, and the Miami Dolphins do. Let me know what you would do to fix the Miami Dolphins and get them back into being a team that can compete for the postseason in 2018. That is all for this video. Thanks for watching. See you around.